Warcasters of KHADORAN. The KHADORAN military has become more regimented by modern reforms, but enormous liberty is provided to those rare few who manifest the mental ability to control warjacks. Provided they are loyal to the motherland, such individuals are singled out, advanced rapidly through the ranks, and given authority over large numbers of soldiers and warjacks. Both Supreme Commandant Gurvud Ayrusk and Forward Commander Sorsha Kartakov are examples of warcasters who have earned such special prominence within the military hierarchy, and each is a living legend amongst the rank-and-file soldiers of the Winter Guard. A darker example of the Empress's liberty is the Butcher of Kardov. Even his own soldiers consider him a brutal madman, yet he holds the honored rank of commander. Empress Vinar and her predecessors have demonstrated a willingness to adapt to the needs of these men and women and even indulge them. This includes the virtual immunity of criminal prosecution as well as tremendous leeway conducting missions against the enemy. Though warcasters are technically obliged to obey high command dictates, they tend to operate outside the chain of command. To a warcaster, the military hierarchy and infrastructure exists only to provide reinforcements and maintain supply lines that provide the tools of war for them. As long as their warjacks arrive when and where they are needed, warcasters do not bother with the trivial tasks that occupy other officers. The High Command is eager to foster more warcasters, but they have as of yet found a reliable means to identify those with the warcaster potential. For centuries, this has meant that despite its raw engineering excellence, KHADORAN has lagged behind its rival Cygnar in arcane prowess. The last 100 years have brought the two nations closer than ever before to partnering in wartime capacities, but the High Command sees fewer men and women with warcaster talent than their southern adversary. This makes it doubly important to locate such individuals, preserve them, and hone them into weapons. It was expected to expanding the scope of the size of the Grey Lord Covenant, the premier fellowship of wizardry and arcane research in KHADORAN, would uncover more warcasters, but this has had very limited success. Most warcasters continue to emerge seemingly at random from the ranks of the military. Their sorcerer's power is revealed by the stress of combat. Scholars in KHADORAN insist certain family lines possess higher potential, and each manifestation of power is documented and examined. The Supessage line has been noted for many powerful sorcerers over the centuries, and while the Umbrian heritage is considered a black mark to some, others lament that the current Supessage Great Prince has yet not produced heirs. The Grey Lord Covenant oversees the initial training of those not yet versed in arcane theory, and the apprentice is assigned to a senior warcaster for mentoring. Of those warcasters who are Grey Lords, few advance beyond the rank of Magizev, as their duties require them to focus on military matters over the arcane. The demands of KHADORAN's imperial mandate prevents most warcasters from pursuing the esoteric fields of research, field study, and political maneuvering required for advancement to the highest ranks of within the Covenant. There are exceptions, although, as illustrated by Kolden commander Alexandra Zekova, a warcaster who has carved a distinct niche within the fellowship. Some warcasters may also choose to pursue such advancement after retirement from active duty instead of serving at the High Command's general staff. Recognized warcasters who have completed Druzina training are usually promoted to commander and provided the authority to operate independently, command a large number of soldiers, and requisition extensive machinery. Some warcasters remain outside of the military structure, as both Great Prince Zapeshich and the crone Zivana Aga exemplify. These warcasters are obeyed like rank commanders and are given similar liberties with the Empire's supply lines, a fact that does not sit well with some military officers. Such dissenters are wise to swallow their opinions as long as the Empress endorses this arrangement. Addendum: Grey Lord Coven ranks. Only warcasters directly affiliated with the Coven are afforded arcane ranks. which recognize their aptitude and power as arcanists. Due to the wide scope of their responsibilities and the fact that warcasters are preferred on the battlefield, it is rare for these individuals to rise above the rank of Majizev. These ranks convey authority only with regard to other members of the Covenant. For this reason, a warcaster's military rank is far more significant measure than actual authority. Ranks include Uchevik, Rasnovik, Majizev, Kolden, Kolden Lord, Obanik, and High Obanik Arbiter. Warjacks of KHADORAN. Warjacks are massive machines not easily transported from place to place, though the expansion of railways facilitates this a great deal. KHADORAN has proven particularly quick to lay new tracks across the territories of the motherland, as well as throughout newly conquered territories. Stout wagons hauled by oxen or hardy draft horses take warjacks to where else cannot, and if necessary, the metal giants can travel under their own power, although doing so consumes prodigious amounts of coal and water. Ongoing war has forced the construction of new free fire bases, forward positions at key locations where ample supplies of coal, water, food, ammunition, and weapons are placed for resupply. As the front lines have shifted with the vicissitudes of war, more of these bases have been built to allow warcasters and warjacks to strike wherever they are needed. Some fire bases become permanent fortifications as they expand into true command posts. A number of these are under construction along the Dragon's Tongue River to balance similarly, if not more entrenched Signaran bases. Impromptu roads and supply points stretch all the way from the war front throughout the recently occupied territories to connect ultimately with centers of production and industry deep within the KHADORAN interior. KHADORAN's newly invigorated infrastructure and military reforms have not had a significant impact on its approach to warjack design. Even with the capture of resources from Lael and the Thornwood, the northern nation still lacks the precious metal necessary for the fabrication of warjack cortexes in large quantities. Because of this scarcity, the KHADORAN Mechanics Assembly's ruling body, the Mechana Bureau, continues to allocate most of its resources to the creation of medium-grade cortexes intended for heavily armored and highly survivable warjacks. Other nations have created more maneuverable and relatively light warjacks to fill a variety of battlefield roles, but KHADORAN addresses these needs differently. The Empire's heavy warjacks are often capable of carrying out multiple battlefield functions, and their durable chassis allow them to be equipped with staggeringly powerful weapons. To compensate for the larger number of enemy light warjacks fielded by enemies like Signar and Krix, KHADORAN has responded with steam-powered man-of-war troops, which can serve a similar purpose while being easier to deploy in volume. The use of heavily armored man-of-war infantry has allowed KHADORAN to operate on equal footing, making up for machinery with manpower. Addendum: KHADORAN Warjack Service Markers. Warjacks have served in notable battles are often decorated with service markers to denote their length and regions of service. The warjacks do not notice such distinctions, but the honors inspire confidence in the men who fight alongside them. The Siege of Merywyn. Some would say that the new KHADORAN Empire was born the day Merywyn fell and surrendered to KHADOR, and this marker distinguishes the warjacks that fought during those lengthy and difficult battles that crushed the spirit of the Lycian rulers. Soldiers playing important roles in this fight wear a service medal of a similar design. Assault at Redwall. The attack on the Redwall fortress was the most crucial in the initial assaults during the invasion of Lael, for it was at the strongest western bastion of Lais and Signaran armed forces. Warjacks with this marker were hurled against the fortress alongside Commander Orsis Suktarvi. Troops of KHADORAN. While the citizens of other nations consider compulsory military service as an unpleasant burden, KHADORANs accept this duty as just a basic part of life. A single tour is required of all men, with the exception of those with extreme physical disfigurement. Women are not required to enlist, but those who are without children are encouraged to serve either in the active military or among the myriad support units around the army. Enlistment can begin as early as 15 years of age, and every citizen must have enlisted by his or her 18th year or risk imprisonment and forced service anyway. Those rare few who attempt to evade conscription serve their tours of duty without pay and are given the most grueling duties in the most dangerous areas, such as the isolated bases along the western seaboard, such as Ice Watch, or those in the freezing mountains along the Rurik border. After receiving their initial training, most conscripts enter the regular Winter Guard, but those demonstrating exceptional qualities or special aptitudes can apply for the higher paying and more prestigious specialized branches of the KHADORAN military. It's also possible, if rare, for distinguished veterans of the Winter Guard to join other services later in their careers. Each force has its own requirements, and some are extremely stringent, though not all reference a specific ability. Branches like the Man of Wars and Iron Fang units, for example, require recruits to be of a particular height and strength, as their armor cannot be borne by lesser men. Soldiers accepted into these specialized units must endure protracted training that is more difficult than what is required of the Winter Guard. KHADORAN's rank hierarchy is not clearly laid out until the military reforms of King Mikhail Vanar, which eliminated a number of extraneous ranks. A newly conscripted member of the Winter Guard holds the rank of Privat. Conscripts who survive their first tour of duty and re-enlist might rise to the first non-commissioned rank officer of Corporal. The toughest and most successful corporals may in time lead units of Winter Guards as sergeants. As with all other ranks in the KHADORAN army, there are several grades of sergeant related to pay and time served. The highest rank among those members of the Winter Guard are likely to achieve. Sergeants of the Winter Guard may be given broader authority to lead multiple units called forces, particularly in protracted battles. More typically, however, operational command is given to a lieutenant, the next highest rank. These same non-commissioned ranks exist in other branches of the KHADORAN military as well. Entry into the commissioned ranks by attending the Druzhina Academy in Kursk is easier for those of noble blood, while lesser stock must prove exceptional to earn a commission. Although commandants are opposed to the practice, their limited oversight cannot entirely prevent nepotism and coin from greasing the wheels, and it is not unknown for a candidate from a wealthy family to be given an officer commission before a poorer candidate of equal aptitude. In general, those skilled officers must prove themselves and rise above their peers. Competent commissioned officers can achieve a rank of captain relatively quickly, and those who dedicate themselves to a life in the military and who demonstrate considerable leadership can expect a rise even further. Above the rank of captain is kovnik, roughly analogous to both majors and colonels of Signar. Kovniks typically oversee a battalion of troops. In some cases, particularly well-respected and battle-tested kovniks may even be given the command of an entire legion in excess of 10,000 soldiers. Few commissioned soldiers rise above this rank. Those who tend to be treated truly exceptional individuals, including warcasters. Despite modern reforms, few conventions from ancient times persist into the KHADORAN military hierarchy. This is most notable in the vassals and heirs of great princesses and the most powerful ruling families of Khador, who control the large Voyskaya regions of the nation. These families have their own martial traditions to maintain, and thus their relationship with the military is more complex. It is not uncommon for such nobles or their vassals to serve in the military, sometimes earning very high ranks, but some individuals are prone to avoiding service on the front lines by claiming their presence is required at the capital or supervising their own lands. That the high command has limited authority to pressure such individuals has led to occasional conflicts within the upper ranks. Another group afforded special status is the Grey Lord Covenant. a fellowship of the Motherland's arcane masters that is responsible for the production of vital warjack cortexes. The Covenant is involved in obscure and dangerous occult research, as well as spying and information gathering. Operating with a distinct internal hierarchy, the Grey Lords have a unique relationship with the High Command. Individual Grey Lords are integrated into the army and serve among the rank and file, but their High Ovenic arbiters does not answer to the Premier. He answers instead to the Great Vizier Simonev Blastivian, the current head of the KHADORAN security. The Grey Lords also rule the Paikasa, an ominous and secretive chancellery charged with rooting out domestic threats like spies and other traitors operating within the KHADOR's borders. Information gathering is the province of specially selected agents and Terrans. Addendum: KHADORAN military ranks. KHADORAN soldiers value few things more than their symbols of military rank and service. Considering them well-earned emblems of patriotism and valor, retired Winter Guard usually keep their badges as treasured reminders of a heroic past. Most branches of the KHADORAN military wear their insignia on their left shoulder and a KHADORAN anvil on their right. Irregular or convert forces, however, might place their insignia less prominently or leave it off entirely. Ranks include Sergeant, Lieutenant, Captain, Kovnik, Commander, Commandant, Supreme Commandant, and Premier. And addendum.